Thank you, Speaker. My next question is also for the Acting Premier. Last week, we learned that Hydro One wants to spend millions to install prepay meters, prepay hydro meters, so it can actually bypass Ontario's rules against winter hydro disconnections. With the prepay meters, Hydro One won't have to disconnect anyone. The power will get cut off automatically if the customer doesn't feed the meter. Why is the acting premier cracking down on families who are already struggling to keep up with their sky-high hydro bills? Why are they bringing in prepay meters to the province of Ontario?
Thank you, Deputy Premier.
Minister of Energy.
Thank you,
Mr. Speaker. As Hydro One said last week, as I said last week, Mr. Speaker, there is no prepaid meters being brought forward by anybody, Mr. Speaker. There is an opportunity for Hydro One to explore an idea for folks to opt in if they choose. But again, Mr. Speaker, the NDP sees that as something that's coming forward. There is nothing coming forward with prepaid meters, Mr. Speaker. And of course, this is still being reviewed by the OEB, Mr. Speaker. That's the quasi-judicial economic regulator for the province that always puts first the interest of the ratepayers, Mr. Speaker. So that still even has to be reviewed by the OEB. So there is 2 paragraphs in a 2,000-plus page document that is talking about the Hydro One application, and at the end of the day, Mr. Speaker, if this was to be approved, it's an opt-in program. It isn't something that everyone will actually have, Mr. Speaker.
Supplementary.
Speaker, prepaid meters do not belong in Ontario, period. They do not belong in our electricity system, and this government needs to put a stop to it. And I don't care whether it's 2 paragraphs in some application or whether it's on the front page of their policy platform for the next election. It should not be happening in this province. It hurts families, and it will be extremely expensive for folks. According to the Auditor General, Hydro One customers already overpaid for overpriced, botched rollout of the smart meter program. And now we learn that the privatized Hydro One, which apparently this government doesn't control, even though they said they would, wants its customers to pay yet again for now new prepay meters. Will this acting premier explain why a privatized Hydro One is planning to force people to install prepay meters so they can once again disconnect families who are struggling to pay their bills in the winter months?
Thank you. Minister.
Well, Mr. Speaker, there is a law now that this House passed that actually bans winter disconnection. So again, making it up as she goes along, Mr. Speaker. But also, let's look at those Hydro One prepaid meters. It's an opt-in program if it's approved by the OEB. Mr. Speaker, it's an opt-in. No family will actually get this put on them. It's an opt-in program for people who think this might actually help them. But when it comes to choice, Mr. Speaker, when it comes to choice, it's that party that voted against. So you want us It's that party, Mr. Speaker, that voted against reducing hydro rates between 40% and 50%, helping families in northern and rural parts of the province. It's that party, Mr. Speaker, that voted against the increase in the Ontario Electricity Support Program, helping low-income individuals. It's that party that voted against First Nations and their delivery credit that actually has changed the lives of thousands, over 20,000 First Nations people on reserve, Mr. Speaker. We'll keep acting on defending the people of Ontario.
Final supplementary.
Speaker, if a poor family, a low-income family, has a choice between a $300 reconnection fee and a pay for an advance meter, what do you think they're going to do? It's no choice whatsoever, Speaker. No choice whatsoever. This Liberal government sold off its majority ownership of Hydro One, Ontario's oldest and most important public asset, without consulting the people of Ontario, without a mandate. It was a massive betrayal of Ontario families, and they're only just beginning to pay for it. It's already demanded higher transmission rates and distribution rates, and it's just applied again to increase the rates paid by remote First Nations. And it wants to force families and businesses to install prepay meters to get around the ban on winter connections. How can the Conservative model? How can they model their hydro policies after Conservatives did the same? In fact, how can Conservatives still in their policies model their new election platform on what the Liberals are doing, which is failing so badly? Can the act?
Thank you. Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We're happy to see the Conservatives recognize finally that the 25% reduction is the best way that you can help people in this province lower the electricity bills, Mr. Speaker. Also, Hydro One customers and 6 other jurisdictions, 6 other LDCs are seeing their rates lowered by 40 to 50%, Mr. Speaker. It's this government that invested in making sure that we spent $70 billion rebuilding a system. It's this government that made sure that we eliminated coal from our electricity supply, Mr. Speaker. When you do that, Mr. Speaker, when you eliminate coal, we've reduced in Ontario, 23% air pollution deaths, Mr. Speaker, have been reduced in Southern Ontario, 41%, Mr. Speaker, hospitalizations. And that's thanks to the investments of this government. No less, Mr. Speaker, both opposition parties voted against that.
Thank you.